Well, I started soldering all the negatives here, but I'll flip this over. I did a couple washes, got the bulbs in. It took a little bit for the super glue to want to cure on a couple of them. I don't understand why, but finally I just let them sit overnight. But I put a little panel liner wash inside these grids here to darken that up, and then of course did around the edges so it looks like there's some stains leaking through from the upper here. I did a little bit down on the I-beam and around the lights. We dirty them up, and then we'll do a wash as well. But so right about here, and I'm going to need my lighter just to do a little bit of a pre-melting of the insulation. It seemed to work on the other side, so I'm just kind of doing this and hoping the flame stays and that gets hot relatively in the area I want it to stay. I should turn my fan off. That would help. But we're going to do a couple wraps, so it doesn't matter if it cleans off. Yeah, this green wire cleans off better than that natural color. I like to at least get 3 good wraps. And to make sure we're on there, let's solder it. There we go. I think we got it. It's always a crapshoot doing it that way, but it'll make life much easier. Instead of having to break a wire, cut them, you can just twist them around. And we just keep doing the same thing. And try not to burn yourself. I like to go and actually scrape because even this is just the soot. Can like contaminate your solder, and then it doesn't. It's like a clean or a dirty trying to solder something to dirt. Go, we're looking good, and then we can nip those off. And we can nip these off now. Alright, 2, 4, 6, 7. That's what I need. Got plenty of these, because mainly I'm using a lot of white lights, and they're usually a 3 volt. You get in some of these colors, they start dropping. I think a 2 will be in a 2 volt. And I did this, I did that off the 2 volt. Well, the bulbs say 2 to 2.2, so it's not like I said, it might not even be a difference. Yeah, it's saying a 340 for the, but I would still have to go with this 360 because that's the closest without being under. So it works out the same either way. And usually it does when it's just a point something. They'll give you a variance. It's usually going to end up being the same. Alright. Let's just do that. It makes it easier to see. I'll just start pre-twisting these guys on here. And then like you see me do before, I'll just take these resistors, touch these leads together, twist them together, and then I can run power to that, and it'll, you know, instead of running a single wire to each one of these. Just twist them together, and I'll probably take this and just do the same thing, wrap it around each one. It's not flowing as good as this solder does. There we go. Yeah, I don't know if it's the rosin in this or this is a different temperature. This is a 1 millimeter. This is probably like what, a 3 or maybe a 2. Probably a 2. And now that we've cleaned up, we can then take these and try to get them to twist together. There we go, and there's our contact for the power points. We can tin these. Very good, very good. You had a still part of melted. We'll cut those to make them all flush and even. And now I can attach our positives. And hopefully everything, all our negatives soldered on okay. The negatives we're going to want to send to the back for sure because that's where all the negatives are going to meet. Any positives directly from the lights I can have come right up here because they're going to get fed from the switches because the main power is going to come to the main power switch, and then that, like I said before, will feed each switch. So we can do this. This red usually melts pretty good just with the solder. Like this red, if it were, haven't been trying to stay away from the magnet wire, but it works good. Like especially going through those walls, the sneak wire through that piping, it's a little more durable and skinnier. So I use it for mainly where it's got to be durable and I need a real thin wire. But I've been staying away from using it as much because dealing with the melting of the insulation and making sure you don't have a cold solder joint or no contact at all. But if it would work like this one was, it's great because all I have to do with this one really is just wrap around, and leave a tail or whatever. And then just hit it with the solder, and usually the solder melts it. I don't know if I try it. It's been a while since I tried just doing that. I'm not going to trust it. I have a feeling I'll have to. But like that insulation burns off really quick. And I don't know why the different colors would give you a different result. We'll just twist this one around. Here we'll just pick a spot. Without burning ourselves. Really didn't get through that one. Flame was flickering around too much. The resistor wire is so flexible. It's like, and this magnet wire has a little more of a stiffness, so you go to twist and it just wants to make the resistor wires fall all over the place. Now, let's see what happens. Again, like sometimes I say, like I was saying before, it's better you get them on their sides where you can, solder will want to sit on the wire and the LED diode at the same time and allow them both to get hot. And we don't need, well, I'll make this long enough so I can connect to everybody else. To do tests. That's a good sign. There we go. So everything made a good solder joint. Yay! There we go. Let's flip her over. Oh, nice. So there we go. We got our shop lights. So I can't wait to see what they look like when they're on in there. But let's not get overexcited. Let's finish this off with a wash and do some rough spots and make it look a little grimy. But that I will do off camera because that's just simple. What I've been doing is just leaving the gray wash right on when I'm doing these. Just leaving the gray black wash. And then I'll dab in areas. This is the brown, but I have the oily earth, I think, this one. Then I'll dab that in spots. Because you always want to use at least, at least 2 colors with a wash. Then I'll come in and hit some rust areas. And then we'll clear it. But sweet, there we go. Alright, I put a wash and got a clear coat on it. I think that'll work. Got some rust up on the beams and stuff, and some dirt in the lights and then the vents here. Did a wash overall. So I am happy. That'll work for me. Made sure I got a lot of rust where those two join up, because the ends of these beams seem to rust a little more. And that'll look good. And we can hit these sides with tulips so we don't have light blasting in the tops. And we don't have to deal with that because it's going to be magnetic, so you might not get the tightest of a seal. Well, okay, the lights are all working really good. Starting on the bridge area, got the bridge plate painted. I did make these out of resin, but they're too fragile and I want to light some of these panels, and I'm going to have to drill through them. And here's the resin one of that. Here's what's left of the resin one of that. Did I throw? Well, I kept these side pieces. I don't know why. Oh, because the other one probably broke completely. But I started getting the smaller holes, but then I started drilling one there and it snapped. Yeah, there it is. It was those. But this one was a little warped out of shape anyway. Like, I think this one is... Yeah, that's this area right here. But whatever. I mean, this one here definitely has a nicer detail quality, but for the ability to be able to drill and get some things lit up on these is definitely worth the losing of the quality and the actual image of it, because really it's just a console, and once it's lit up, and it'll look so much nicer there all lit up. But yeah, I'm thinking about having the light come from down underneath, or at least a source. And then for this thing, I'm going to have a light back in here, and then I'm going to make a lid. I'm going to get the dimensions of this and either 3D print one, or I'm wondering if I just use a piece of styrene. A 3D printed one, I could actually make a fancy ceiling on here, kind of have it step up. They do have like a little bit of a design to this, and instead of it just having a flat top, have it come out and then step up, and then come out and step up a little more. Maybe I can combine them two to give it just something, I don't know. Most of it you're not even really going to see, because once it's up in here... Oh, and I got this painted. Got all the windows cleaned out, which was not fun. The way it zigzagged the supports in here to hold up, it kind of combined the supports to hold this lip edge, which what the floor actually will sit on. There's that lip edge. You'll maybe be able to see it better with the black in there. You can kind of see that edge right along there. It used the supports to support that, and the ceiling, and the light in the windows all in one shot. So they were all like, you couldn't get all this gunk out of here until you got it popped out of these window holes. And then I just took files and cleaned it up. But all in all, that came out nice. I'm very happy with that. There are, I believe, supposed to be 2 more windows way back in the corners on those, but I'm just going to leave. This isn't going to be the exact same one you saw on A New Hope, because of the fact that, you know, unless you're saying it's prior to A New Hope, I'm going to copy a lot of the orange rusty detail that's along the upper and stuff, but it can be a little bit different than the New Hope Jawas, because of the fact that, you know, they got destroyed by the Empire looking for Luke and the droids. Mainly the droids, I think. That's where they learned where the droids were sold. I didn't really notice that little detail before. Alright, what else have I been up to? This part's painted. Didn't have to really paint much here because that's where that piece goes on top. This will go on top here. And that's our for our ship. So it's going to come along. Don't know what those pinholes are unless they never printed on this. Probably never printed on this. But they don't line up in the front. Because otherwise it'd have to be way back there. So I'm not sure. Oh, you know what those are probably for? No? Because this sits up. Yeah, I have no idea what those are for. Our ramp is all painted. I just painted this side today, which is the outside. I kind of like how the 3D print gives you, you know, I went really light, and I've been trying to do really light, so you still have some darkness in the panels, but these panels are pretty deep anyway, so they do give you a good shadowing. But I'm trying to stay a little light because I like how the printer makes panels. It'll go like this way, and then it'll come this way. But all these are going the right direction. And sometimes it leaves some little, I don't know, openness to it, which you could fill in with your filler. But it printed pretty smooth. But I like that kind of texture. It gives you that plate steel kind of texture. But yeah, and then those are our holes for our magnets, which I did not ever check to see if my magnets are the right size for that. That would be awesome if they are. But I'm kind of having a... Oh, yes, they do. That's great. I might have to do a little bit of a... to get them in there, or it might be a press fit. Oh yeah, I can get them in there. Like that one wants to go in. Oh, why you go in there now? That's great. I think this side I'm gonna have to, yeah, make a little wider. And it would have to be deeper too anyway. 'Cause that's nowhere near deep enough. Or if I just get a thin piece of metal, really. Because it doesn't need another magnet, it just needs a piece of metal there. So I could just put a piece of metal there and hit it lightly with some color, and so you won't see it. And then click. Anything else? I don't know if I showed that this is all painted up. And of course the ladder, which this will actually be this way. So that's all painted up. Of course the droid sucker uppers, whatever those are called, the droid vacuums, they're painted. Want really light to leave some black shadowing. I'll have to get all that stuff washed. And the interior crane hook. This part's painted. And this is what slides on the I-beam inside the ship. And then this is the claw, which was 2 pieces. This was 1 piece. I already glued it on and then painted it, and then went and hand painted the gunmetal on this, and then a worn penny for those pipes. And I should have thinned this gunmetal out a little more, but I did a sloppy paint job and didn't really worry about covering everything, so you can see this rusty brown come through in a little bit in some spots. Once I hit it with a clear, like I said, it'll helps it become transparent in certain spots too, if you don't have like a heavy coat. So I am rambling on. That's where we're at on this. So what I did is I love getting that rusty color coming through, just like I did on the platforms in the interior. So I'll lightly hit it with that rusty brown hull color, and then I'm going to come through with the gunmetal, which is a dark silvery metallic, and this time I am going to actually thin it out. Get rid of all this too. This was just overspill from that other tray. I'll just put it in here and then, you know, water it down and then brush it across, and then you'll see both. It'll make the metal floor look like it has rust spots already kind of in there. So that'll work great. It worked great on those platforms, and I did the same thing with that steel I-beam. And that's the look I'm looking for. And then we'll strategically go in and do rust or dirt in other spots. And our pistons or hydraulics for the ramp are here, and they're painted. I don't know if I shown this, but these are little they did have you print 2 rods for this. As you can see, this one's kind of got a little whoop, but yeah, they did have these. But I'm like, those look like they look like the posts you get from round 2 for their dome bases, especially if you have a smaller ship. I was like, I have some of those, and of course you can see I have those, but then I had 2 of these that are exactly the same size, which are only a hair shorter than those 2, and just happens they're the perfect diameter. So that made me really happy. So we're going to use that, and we don't have to worry about making it look metallic, because it is. And it'll deal with that stress of that gate going up and down instead of this piece. I'm thinking they actually cut these a little big, or designed them a little big, because this is the part it's going to go up and down inside. Like, so when it's closed and then when it's open, it's going to go up inside in here. And the other end is one of these. I don't know if this is the good one, but the other end is going to be one of these. This is actually what attaches up into the ship. This is the part that actually goes to the ramp. If you see, if I put that in there, oh, we're way up there. So we're going to have to actually cut probably about right in here somewhere. But my question is, if you cut that much off, is it going to give you enough for the gate to come all the way down? What else did we get done? Oh, I went online and got a whole bunch of cool droid stuff and Jawas. I got my little Jawas printed up, which came with the file with the Sandcrawler, but you had to scale them down because otherwise they would have been like this tall. So I'm actually going to print. There's 4 different designs. Yeah. 1, 2, 3. I think there's 5 different poses, and I just multiplied them by 3, and then each pose I did 3 different sizes of Jawas. Like I did one who's a little tall, and then you have one that's medium, and then you have a little shorter guy, and tried to do them all, and you know, so I had 3 different sizes for each pose, and that way when you put them along throughout the vehicle, you got different poses. Like this guy, I think's the taller one, and here's the shorter guy. And just by a little. Like his face is right down there, but that's, you know. So I got a whole bunch of little Jawas, which are going to be hard to see because they're really small. And then there's all those, and here's another pose. This guy's already on the ship. I already broke him free, and he's hanging out in the side door. So there's the Jawas here, and then I got a whole bunch of droids. I don't know all their names and stuff, so I'm not even going to try, but I remember this black thing that floated around on the ground in New Hope. So I got him. I got stuff from like Legends and video games. I don't know what this guy is. It'll be hard to see until I break him free of his supports. We got a Gonk. Gotta have a Gonk. We got all these are like canon, or if not, they're in you know, like, or if they're not in the actual movies, they're in like Star Wars Rebels or the Clone Wars. So I don't know what this guy is. He's another. He has the legs like a Gonk, but he's more like skinny and long. I got. This was a Star Wars droid pack, which was great. So I got an Imperial droid, aka K2SO. Then we got what this guy is like, that medical droid that has the. And I was watching the thing on Adam Savage just tested with Lauren Peterson, since that studio in San Francisco is being shut down, or actually is shut down as of the end of October. But I thought he was saying something about how this droid, that silvery thing on the front of his face is really a microphone. It's one of those old microphones. But that's that medical droid that you see Luke in the Bantha tank in Return to the Empire. So that's one of him. I got 3PO here, and this is a Trade Federation droid, just his upper half, which is great. He's already torn apart or damaged, they said, the file. So I shrunk him down, so he'll be good to lay around in the ship. I got whatever this crazy thing is, but they're all like you can go in Wikipedia, and because that's how I got the dimensions of them, so I knew how to scale them to like a human. It's like, okay, Jawa is like average 1 meter. Some things I scaled a bigger just so we'd actually get the detail or print. Like, I think this mouse droid might be a hair bigger than he would. Yeah, he's normally they come just above your ankle. So we got 2 pit droids. We got this crazy thing. It's kind of like a tank, and then it has a robot body here that hinges, and then his head's up there. I can't remember the names. I do have them written down. I know this is a hangar droid, which is kind of like a mouse droid, maybe a hair bigger, and it scrubs the decks and all that kind of stuff. And then of course we got a bunch of astromechs. We even got Chopper. Where's Chopper? There's Chopper. We got BB-8. I have R2, of course, R4, R5. But yeah, that's all those guys. Anything else that I've been up to? No, right now I'm printing pins for these. Yeah, it's just finishing. Oh, it just finished. Speak of the devil. It just finished. Here we go. There's the correct heights. So that should be able to go through that and the rest of it, yeah. And then these are the little button caps that are going to cap them off. But I only really need 2 of those. I always, whoops, I'm gonna whip my glasses off. I always print more, especially something like this. Originally I was thinking I needed 4. 2 for the down and 2 for the top. But I forgot the top ones are molded right into the side, so I only need 2. But always give yourself 2 extra, because say this one's not good and you needed 4 and you needed 4 and one of them goes, you at least have 2 more choices. Same thing here. I only need what, 1, 2, 3, 4. I printed a 5th one. It's also making me think we're gonna have to put a back here. Or will this act as the back there? I think that will. Let me take that off. You don't need to be there. I just need to see what... Oh, that works. That's the back there. Yeah, so we're going to want to go down. We're going to want to go down and then down, and you won't even see any of that. And this I have to hit with a little more paint, because that will be visible from the front windows and stuff. Probably should put some greaseblies and everything back there. Really, it's only that little spot, so I'll just run a couple pipes, and really it only needs to be, if you look, if we slide this back in, well, it really only needs to be that much, where I just add a little detail, maybe a panel or something, but I think piping and cabling would look the best. But I'm going to get on with, I'm not going to bore you with that, I'm going to get on with painting this. Like I said, I'm going to thin it down with a lot of water and just brush it on, and then hit it with a wash, and then hit it with a clear, and then we're good. You can get these consoles on. Because like I was starting to say, I think, I want to get this one on, because that way I can drill through everything. And all this is a little more stable. And I can get the right angle too, because I don't want to come up, drill like that, and I come out towards the front. I need to come straight down. And hopefully this lighting situation will work. So, I got the bridge plate painted. I did that rusty brown color, and then I did the gunmetal over top, and then did just a black gray wash from Vallejo. Actually, it's the one I'm mixing up. I just used the black craft acrylic and then a little alcohol. Thinned it out and made a wash, and I spread that all around and hit it with a clear. But I wanted to get this console down to drill the holes for the buttons. That way it goes through everything, and the floor plate. I can kind of... because otherwise I would have to drill it here, then glue it down and drill it again. So might as well just get it on there and drill it all one shot. And hopefully we can get these to work correctly. These here that I'm going to drill are not the smaller ones for the fiber optics are going to be fine. But what I'm hoping with we got 2 circular ones there and here. I'm hoping to get those to, you know, with the big fiber optics I have, the mushroom over. But then I went and painted the console black, because I wanted to get, you know, and here's the central console. I wanted to get those painted, you know, since I am gluing this down right away. And then I think I'm going to do a little painting once I get these holes drilled. Maybe use might even use the let's do a different metal. Let's use the zinc, which is that silver bluish kind of metallic, and run that. There's a raised panel here where all the displays are. We'll make that look like a little metallic compared to the rest of the console being black. So that'll be cool. And probably do the same thing here. I don't know, we could always do this brim and then the back wall, and then leave this upper part black and maybe color up some of the lumps there or something. We'll figure that out. This is easy. I'm just going to do that top plate on the display, and the rest is going to stay black. And then I'll use some of my Tamiya silver pastels to rub on the edges to make it look like edges got worn down to metal. Oh, and then here I actually just printed, it just finished a minute ago, a lid for this. And I forgot to do a back. But that'll be a lid for that. Actually, let's see, it should fit this side, yep. And that'll cap the top, because once this is on here, you see about half of that. Once you lift, when you look in here, you'll see about half of that. So I wanted to put a top on it, plus it'll block the, I'm just gonna, I think if everything works out, the monitors and the controls I drill in here, I'm just gonna have a maybe a 5mm LED just sticking up. We'll drill a hole and we'll just push it in through the bottom, glue it down there, and just have it sticking up in here. And with this cap, and then I got to do a back here, I wonder if I should 3D print it or just hit it with styrene back there. Probably just with styrene back there, because you won't even see. This I kind of wanted a, I did a chamfered edge, so you kind of see a nice edge, because you, like I said, you will see this front half. And then I'll probably maybe put a couple greeblies up here where you can kind of see. And then these are light fixtures. All I did is just make a circular light fixture with a little bit of a curve, and then I'm hoping what I can do, these are smaller. I just made the basic design and I can scale them up and down and even change dimensions however I want. That'll sit on there like that. Might be a little tall, hopefully not too tall that it hits, because I didn't have a whole lot of room up above there. I'll have to see. I only made it 2mm and it should be fine. There we go. So what we'll do is we'll chop a little notch in the wall there just for the wires to come through. Have the light already glued and set up, and just place this right on top. And then I'll fill that. I think I'll be able to fill that with a clear without damaging the LED. And that'll give a clear fixture lens. These bigger ones are for, so these, I printed more than I want, but I'm still not sure exactly how many of these I'm going to have. Now that I see them, I can set them like this. I think I'm just going to have 1, 2, 3, 4. You know, just kind of center these, one here and one here, and then 2 back here. We might even be able to get away with just 2 or 3 across the front if we just went with 3 of them. So with that there, even the 2 of them will set off a lot of light. Yeah, well, I'm still thinking we're going to put 2 back here, but I printed 2 extra in case I wanted to do 3 across the front. I think 3 across the front would be a little extreme. I think we just stick with that because I don't want it overly bright in here. And we put these 2 back here, and we got all that space there. So, but that's what we got going on there. But let me try to drill a small hole in here and see how this works. Like I said, the resin, I had to reprint this in the FDM because the resin, it wanted to crack. And these little longer, there's 3 little longer recesses. I'm just going to drill holes and put fiber optics in those. The fiber optics, I know we won't have a problem with getting stuff to light because we can stick it down in there and it can catch a lot of light. Let's see how well this works. Usually this stuff's fairly easy to drill through. I probably should put this in a drill bit and the gun, screw gun, so I can do this a little faster. But for this first one, it's got to be trying to get through the bottom. But then we'll also have to see where a lot of the controls are here, because we have this lip here. Or do I just eliminate this whole lip? Maybe keep it in spots. But we might have to eliminate some of this lip up front, because I think some of these, where the holes are gonna be right under. Yeah, I bet you a lot of them will be. And if there's anywhere I can notch to still have a platform, but we still have this whole edge here that'll hold it. So if it's not as strong there, we can always put something under, you know, in spots where we can. Or like I said, once I get all these drilled, I can just slide this in and see where I have to maybe notch something. There you are. Now see how I'm gonna have to think of my angles too, because that's right at the edge there. So we know that one's gonna have to get notched out for those, because that's gonna be way varied. I don't know if I can come this way and kind of. Partly in and trying to push a little bit this way and give the fiber optic something good. Well, these are just going to stick down in. I'm not even, you know, they're not going to go to the light. So, but well, I'm going to keep drilling away. But that's where we're at. Okay. We're getting pretty far in this bridge. It's taking a little time coming up with certain things that I want to do. But it's glued on, of course. I drilled the holes through. Got all the holes. I just went with round ones. It made it simpler. Some of these monitors I'm going to have off, and I'll just put, once I hit this with a flat, I'll just hit a little window maker on these to give it that like glossy monitor screen kind of look, and just leave it black behind them. And here's our center control area. Went through and did some detail painting on that. There's the 3D printed top I had to make for it. So it's all painted up and holes are drilled. And then I got a few of the things in here for the monitors. And what I did for like all these monitors, these big monitors I drilled holes for, I'm like, do I fill it with a resin or empty a whole bottle of window maker in there, and it'll take forever to cure at that depth, and it shrinks too, so that would be a pain, and air bubbles and all that kind of stuff. And then I was just thinking, I was at work and I was thinking, I'm like, I gotta have some clear sprues that are about that diameter. And of course I did, and I'm like thinking, well, with a kit, where would I have a lot of clear sprues? And I have a Deep Space 9 kit, and it's the clear version. And it was perfect. The sprues themselves are actually the perfect diameter. There's a little parts bag. It has little parts on it. And I just cut, there was a little part here. It was actually, this was the bigger part of the sprue. I just took that off, put that back in the bag, and cut it off the rest of the sprue, and just cut it into little lengths and made little fiber optics, in a sense. So then they're just sticking through, and they're nice and thick, and that's what they look like on this side. And then we can actually go back here and just hit them with some transparent paint to color them up. And that'd be cool. I don't know if I do all in like a greenish monitor look, or if I switch them off between the blue and the green. I think we might just go with, I don't know. I don't know how to really go about what colors I want to use. But that's all we'll have to do back there, is just paint them. But light's shining through them really nice. It's gonna be, I won't be able to, I don't know if I can somehow. As you can see there, they're glowing. So it's working really nice. And you can do that a lot with like a fiber optic type of thing if you don't want to bring it to a bundle. If you just stick it through and have the whole area lit, it'll catch that light. And like I said, there, I can get it to do it again. There we go. They're working perfect. And if I even have the light hitting right at it at the bottom like it's going to be, here we're just hitting it from the side and it's still picking it up. But then, you know, I cut them off and then I would hit them with the Dremel to kind of get myself a nice smooth flat edge. And then I'm just sticking them through. And I did most of these, I just have these last two, as far as the big ones, on here. And it's working great on this as well. So basically all I'm doing is just, once I have them, I already have them smooth, is just press them through. Is that the one I want facing forward? No. Why aren't you going through? It might have did a layer or two off. There it goes. So we might have a layer or two that's a little bit off. And I use this to, there we go. And I can even dab a little bit of window maker on there. I'll hit it with a flat first and then maybe put a dab so it kind of glazes it over, because it will shrink, and then it might fill in some of the edges if there's a little bit of a weirdness. But now when I hold that to the light, those are glowing good, and I can do those in different colors. Last one, and that's one of these side ones. I like to look to see, make sure there's none of that whiteness when you cut plastic and stuff. That's why I kind of hit them with the grinder too. That one went in nice. And there we go. Give it a little more press, because I can have them recessed a hair. Because like I said, if I do a dab of window maker on there, it'll work. But the nice thing about this clear plastic from the Deep Space Nine is it's made to glow. So it's not like a clear plastic. It's kind of an off milky kind of plastic, which helps it diffuse and grab the light better. So good idea. I'm glad I thought of that, and that's something you can try when you need to make your own displays, and that will work great. I already have the hole for the 5mm bulb that'll go in here, and then we need to glue this guy down once we get all these smaller fibers in. It's just going to be so much easier to get all these small fiber optics in there. These big ones, well, I might from behind here hit it with a little window maker, because that'll be good enough to hold it. These big pegs, and probably here too. I'll just hit it with a little window maker. But we'll get them all through first, even the small ones, because I'm probably going to have to poke some of these holes. And then another thing we got to do is then we got to bring this in, and we got to mark where we get a notch this little rim that holds the floor. So we're gonna have to figure that out. And actually I think I can just flip it like this, since everything's equal, and just give me a rough idea of where we need to leave some of this. And then we got to make a back for here, which I think I'm just going to use some styrene, because you're never going to see it. It's going to be facing the back like that, so we're never going to see that, but we need to cap that off, otherwise we're going to have light blasting. And then we're going to put some greablies up on this. Actually, it'll be glued back here, so I'm going to have to hit a little bit of that rust color here, because you can, once this is on there, see that back wall. Once this part here actually becomes like the back wall once this comes down. And you can enough, I think, especially when I put some lighting back there, see some of that. So we'll put some, I'll mark that, and we'll put a couple of little greablies back there just to make it look like something. And then we also got to do our lighting. Alright, well, that's where we're at. I'm going to keep trucking on putting the little ones in. Got a cluster here, 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 and then a cluster mainly on the sides. I probably could have drilled, you know what, and I might. I still got time. Maybe drill a couple little lights right on the front here in the corners. Just make them random. Probably should, so we have some smaller LEDs, you know, smaller buttons. Well, okay. I am getting the lights inside the cockpit area here. As far as our consoles, I got the, of course, the top on. I got the little piece of styrene that covered a little bit of opening I had there in the back. All the fiber optics are in, so that's all working good. When you hold it up to light, everything's glowing good. I might have to touch up colors to, you know, get them a little more vibrant. But all in all, the clear sprues from the Deep Space Nine model kit worked perfect. They were the right diameter, and they were pulling light through awesomely. So that's that. And then on the front console here, they are working all good. I put a couple more small little LEDs in these areas, and as you can see, they're all poking through. And they are all working good. So we'll see how it works once we do lighting. And what we'll have to do on this piece here, where it actually oh, well, I got this piece. I added some greablies on the end here because, as you can see here, here's the floor platform that actually the floor, this part of the floor sits on. So really the only space they really have, the Jawas, is this little upper area here. And then all this here is open. Let's see if I can get, like, all this is open, and then that's where the floor sets. But as you can see back here, it's open back here. And this back, what makes the back wall is that piece right there. When this comes down, that will make the back wall. So I wanted to put some greablies back there. Something, you know, you can't 100% see extremely, but it's nice to see something back there. But then you got to print out these detail parts that you put on and glue on to the back of the bumper. Well, as you can see, these areas here, it had to print really thin because it's really thin, but the resin's really fragile, so it started to break and all that stuff. So what I did is end up just printing it on the FDM printer. Here's another part. I think this is part of the upper. I think the upper one and the lower one are different, or it might be vice versa, I'm not sure. Because it kind of, the bumper kind of does something like that. And I believe the smaller one's up high. I could be wrong, but that's what those are. And I've been using them for, I figured I'd keep that part for greablies, like all those parts. I can bust pieces out. These are part, I think, of this smaller section. As you can see, I reused, here's the same part. right there. I just cut that out and put it there. Yeah, there's that same part. So it's a way to reuse greeblies, and you can always, heck, I can even always just print this panel for other things. So, but that's what I did. I used some parts that I was going to throw out and decided to keep them. So that'll at least give a little detail back here once we dirtied them up and everything. Right now everything's like brand new. I did these in a copper, did a brass piping here, and just some red and some zinc for the metals on this. Just picked some weird colors like an orange and an off red or reddish orange, I think it is. What is this? That's the orange. Where are you? Oh, it's a salmon. And it also let me see how these colors go over top of this brownish red. And I like how this salmon especially kind of dulled itself down. So that's going to work good when I do the little detailing with the airbrush on the outside of this with different panels. So that was a good test as well. So all this is ready. I can pretty much glue this guy on. Then we'll hit it with a flat clear. But I want to get these colors a little more brilliant. So this is getting ready to install. But we have some stuff to do in this, and that's doing our ceiling lights. Really, that's all it has to be. So what I decided to do is run 4 SMD LEDs. And then what I'm doing is once I glued the lights down, so you can see all those are in there, even those up in the front part. Then I'm just gluing these down on top, over top of them, and centering them over the light. So that'll go there, and then this one will go here. I can get like that. And then what I'm doing once they're cured, so I'm just taking some JB Weld clear weld and mixing that up, and then I just take this little tool and I just scoop it in and put it in there, and these two in the back are actually curing. And it's actually starting to cure. So hopefully that'll work. You know, if the LED goes bad, you know, it's going to go bad regardless. But just reading up, this resin should be fine. They said watch out because some of these resins, when they're curing, put off a heat, but that's not really putting off any heat to hurt that LED. But this isn't corrosive or conductive at all, so we should be good that way. It won't make a short across things. And I believe, now a heat thing, as far as the LEDs getting warm, but the LEDs don't get really warm at all anyway. And in some resins, they said, I don't know if this one's in the case, will actually dissipate heat. It'll get warm and pull the heat away. So I know they have some resins that they use for circuit boards, and they were talking about that. It's like a black resin. You'll see a lot of times because they can put it down on something and they don't have to worry about it being conductive or corrosive or any of that stuff. So I don't think we're going to have a problem with the LEDs getting warm. But let's keep trucking on. I have enough time on this camera. Let's keep trucking on here. This is fairly simple. I'm just taking some super glue and getting these tacked down. That way, I thought about just using the resin itself to tack the whole thing down, but this is it's a good thing to get this kind of tacked and ready, because I can get it centered and everything, and then just throw the resin inside the hole, and hopefully this seals a little bit of the base so that the resin just doesn't want to keep falling through, which it kind of does. It's always hard to turn something small over like this without getting your finger all I'm always going to get a little piece of super glue on my finger that makes the part stick to it. It's always going to happen. I'd like to get that pressed down harder. But I'm afraid if I push with my hand and it sticks to my finger and then it's just going to come back up anyway. So there, I think that'll work. Nah, that's looking... We got to get a notch in this. We got to get a notch in there for the wire. And I'm having trouble figuring out how to put a little notch in here because I was trying with this file just for the wire to come out. And then the wires I'm going to paint. But where I was going is maybe with the saw. But the only problem with the saw is it's very thin. So I'm going to have to like double and triply cut into it. Alright, where were you? You were in there somewhere. I don't know if I do a smaller. It's like too hard to hold it with this bigger wheel. Maybe not. Let's see. We do a slow speed. Doesn't need much. These LED wires are small. There we go. Now I need a little, where's that small? There it is. Get rid of the burrs. That should hopefully. Toothpick, do we still have some super glue over here? Nope. It's dry. We gotta add more. Or is it? Yeah, well, that's dry already. Never dries that quick, cures that quick when I need it to, though. Yeah, I don't know if this super glue has just been some of the weirdest super glue I've ever had as far as curing. So now I need to probably use some type of tweezers because I'm going to have to know, A, it's going to stick in my hands because and all this isn't a big deal if it's messy because A, it's Star Wars, and B, it's going to get washes and everything else put on it. I think we had it good, but guess what it did? It stuck to me and not to the, like I said, it'll always do that. Even though you keep cleaning your hands. Get in there. It's like I gotta use another tool to hold it down. There we go. Pretty much centered, as close as we can be. There we go. Yeah, let's try that same thing with the other one. Where'd it go? Don't know. You're so small. Where'd you go? Oh, it's stuck to my hand. Look at that. This must have been the one I tried the first time. Alright. Let's try to get a notch in this one too. There we go. Now let's see if we can get. Nope, that's completely dry again. And the reason I'm so surprised, because like I said, any other time it doesn't cure up until it's on something it doesn't need to be, or you still have things out of alignment. Then it'll start curing up on you quick. Let's see if I can get this one in. That one went down nice. My wiring was much better there too. It was a little tighter. So that helps. And looking through a window, you see 4 nice ceiling lights. So that's what I'm doing there. And then we just put the epoxy in, which this camera is about to die, so I'm going to shut this one down. We're about to run out of minutes, so we're going to have to do this off of that one. I got to get a bigger card for that one. Just haven't gotten around to do it, but I do like that it forces me to empty both of these a little more often. That way you don't have an oops or any issue. So, because otherwise, this one here I can do like I think 5 hours worth of recording, and this one's maybe an hour and 40 minutes. I think it does, or I'm not sure exactly. Under 2 hours. But since I kind of sometimes just let these cameras roll and then I edit what I want, I'm not one of those pre-plan and pre-script everything. This is kind of just like you're hanging out here with me. All right, so this clear weld I figured I wanted to check out. I just got the clear because I figured it would work for things like this, but I also want to use it for these instead of super glue. Using it for joining all these halves together, but we can mix some of this up. I'm going to do it, I mean I could probably mix it up in a big bulk of because I was kind of judging before. I was putting about a dot of the resin, about the size of that, as far as the size, and you know, about the size of the sconce, and then I was doing the same thing with this and then mixing it together. And it would only give me, you know, 2 lights. So, but I've been kind of liking doing them one at a time. And I don't overmix a bunch of product, because I think I'm going to really like this, especially for these 3D printed kits. So we'll just mix one at a time. But I'm pretty much giving it a blob about the size of the sconce, but it's not going to have the depth. So about between this and the resin and the hardener, it seems to be giving me the right depth. And I'm using this toothpick here and mixing them together. It's pretty much a 1-to-1 ratio. And I've been using this awesome tool I got at Wonderfest. So glad, and I'm, you know, so glad. I looked for him last year and didn't find. Well, I might have found him, but I don't think I stopped. It was busy there, and I figured I'd come back, and I think I forgot to come back and just get more of these things and see what other cool sculpting tools is what they really are. Yeah, I might start getting this on here fast because we want it to flow and level off, which you pretty much has been doing. You know, we got a little extra. I'm going to put it right in here. enough in that front one? Or the left one? Yeah. We'll put a little more in there. I can't tell if that's a gap or if it's a... We're pretty solid. Good, good. We can mix up a little more here. And do that quick. We got a portion in this one, other one. Started. Yeah, that should be enough to fill that light. Keep smushing it and spinning it and stirring it. Get it all off the... There we go. It's so clear it's hard to see. Did it. Try to squeeze a little more in there. I mean, it's going to settle. But these didn't shrink up too bad. You know, the first two I did. I've been sitting here curing. They did not shrink up bad at all. And there we go. I don't know if I can... Let's see if I can get this camera light on. Might be able to. You can see them glaring. That's it. I'm gonna, while they're curing, I'm gonna go and paint the wires and hide the wires. I don't mind if they have like a wire look, but we're gonna paint it. It's gonna be hard to see them anyway. They're way up in the ceiling. You don't have much of a window to see in, and then up from here, yeah, you're not going to see them. You can't get into those angles. But we'll paint them anyway, instead of having red and black. They're, like I said, I tucked them this way and ran them all along that ceiling there for the ones up front, and in these I just ran straight back, so they're kind of at an angle like that, because they're kind of... the sconce itself blocks them. You know, if you're over this way, you can't quite see them. Maybe from this little spot here on this side of the sconce, you'll see a little bit of wiring. But once we coat it, it'll look like just wires that, you have buildings and they just spray right over the wiring and everything. Especially if it's in a conduit. But there we go.